everyone, welcome. My name is Rita Egidio. I am the host of the Influential Creatrix, and I feel then we are going to talk dogs now. Lilianne Merida. I live in Merida, Mexico, so I think we have a click already. We have a connection here. Lilianne, do you want to please take the microphone and present yourself, tell who you are and what you do and where you are as well?
Well, thank you so much, Rita. Thank you for having me. Like you said, my name is Lilianne Merida. I'm a native of Venezuela, but we came to the United States 21 years ago. Like time flies. And I have been a dog trainer for 50 years, believe it or not. 51 probably.
My God. You start when you are 5 or 2.
I started because I wanted a dog and I was driving my mom crazy. Like, I want a dog. And then, so my grandparents lived here in the United States and we came to visit. And my mom told my grandfather, who, I was his baby girl, like he pampered me. And he says, well, next year when we move to the house, I promised Lilianne we're going to get a dog. And so he's like, oh, let's look at the paper. Sometimes they give dogs away. Like, we were clueless. We had no idea. But he ended up gifting me a little beagle puppy, cute as a button. And it turned out that the lady that we got it from was a very reputable breeder, like unbeknownst to us. Like, it was just a lucky thing. And she said, oh, he has pedigree and you can show him because he has, champion bloodlines. And we're like, in Venezuela, dog shows? Like, no, like when you're not in that world, you don't know. So that was a classical story of if you give a mouse a cookie. It turned out that my mom used to work for what was Shell in Venezuela, Shell Oil Company. And she's commenting to her boss, like, oh, we got Lilianne a puppy. And he's like, oh, my wife runs a training club and we have kindergarten puppy classes. You need to bring her. And that's how we got started. I was 12 and we started training this puppy and I never, ever stopped. It became, I went to college for biology because I like science and animals, but I ended up just keeping, with the dog training, and it turned into my career, my passion, and I never stopped and competed with dogs. And
beautiful, because a beagle is not an easy dog, right?
No, not at all.
My experience is that a beagle is not an easy dog, and especially for kids, you need to you need to know what you are doing. Because it's very different to have a beagle, have a basset hound. Basset hound have a totally different behave. They are crazy as well, but they behave in a different way. I love that we are connected with dogs because I used to be, many years ago, a dog dealer. So what I used to do is I used to work with families and where I used to work with breeders and families and trying to match them for finding the perfect dog for the perfect family, the lifestyle. If it was a person who goes to surf and goes to the beach, what dog goes every day, what dog they can have. If you are just at home, what dog they can have. So it's super interesting. So now that you are in the United States, you keep doing the same, right?
Yes. And what has happened is, this was way back when I was still in Venezuela. I started developing a very keen interest towards what we now call natural healing. I was getting frustrated with my dogs. We had show dogs and then they would get hot spots and then you take them to the vet and then they would shave the coat off. And you know how long it takes for the coat to go back. I had golden retrievers. I switched from a more trainable breed.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Golden is slightly different. So I was like, why is this happening? And you go to the vet, they treat him with steroids, antibiotics, and they're good for a while. And then a few months later, we were back to square one. So that I was like, let's get to the root cause. And I started going more towards the holistic path. And it evolved into, like, instead of waiting for things to happen, like, why can't we do some prevention? So I started doing raw feeding when raw feeding was just starting. It was just, a thing, I found a few books and it was just getting started and everybody was totally crazy. And that evolved into using homeopathy, acupuncture, herbs and essential oils, you name it. I've tried it all, massage. And I had two mentor vets that taught me a lot, that they gave me books. It wasn't just a vet visit, it was educational. Like they would sit for an hour and teach me, and it just one thing led to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been a keen interest of mine.
Nice. And so how was your approach? Is teaching people, guiding people, or consulting people?
No, so what I do is people come to me. Mm-hmm. I sometimes do private sessions, but it's a little bit more complicated. Like going to people's homes, like if they're having an issue that I don't think can be solved. But normally they come to me and really I'm training the person. It really turns out that I'm training the person. And everybody by the third class, they go like, oh, so you're not training the dog, you're training me. And I'm like, yep. So a lot of people, if they have issues, they really don't understand. They can't read the dog. They, for whatever reason, they need to have a better understanding of why the dog is behaving, how it's behaving. And then I like to use positive reinforcement and, try to work with the dog to make it fun for both the person and the dog so that they have a good time. Amazing. And I do a lot of agility now. I have a lot of students because agility is addictive. So once people start, they never want to stop.
Yeah, I believe so. And how is the reaction of people when you bring this new approach?
Well, here in the United States, I think for the past, I want to say maybe like 25 years, everything has been into, when I got started, it was all corrections, and you put a choke collar on your dog, and the poor beagle, I don't know how he was like with it, but that's all I knew. And now I feel so bad. I said like, oh my God, if I would have known how to use food to train dogs, my beagle would have walked in the tightrope because they love to eat. So things have evolved. So right now, I think pretty much everyone is really towards using positive reinforcement. And what's a little harder is the holistic part.
I was going to that. I mean, more the holistic part.
Yes, that is, I've kind of learned to, because this is what I've discovered. Everybody wants the best for their dogs. Nobody wants to do something to the dog that is intentionally harming them. So I become more like, it's education. It's telling people, well, did you know that, if you feed only kibble, this is what's happening. If you use treats that have preservatives, and, I teach them how to read the labels, and they go like, oh, wow, like, I didn't know that. Once people understand that these are things that are harming their dogs, and some things I go like, yeah, I don't even like to, eat food that has coloring or preservatives. So I don't do it for myself. But they were clueless that happened for a dog. I was talking to a lady that actually, she's in Europe and she's a nutritionist, and she got a puppy, and there's a new social media called Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
But she says like, I'm so glad I found you, because I felt awful giving my dogs kibble because I knew that that's not how I feed my family. But she was unsure. She says, I don't know what to do for my dog. So once people understand and you explain to them, they go like, oh, wow. And then when they also, what happens is the changes in the dogs are pretty, they occur fast and they're pretty dramatic. So people immediately start noticing like, oh, he's not shedding, or, his coat is so shiny, or he doesn't smell like a dog. And they start seeing all these benefits and they go like, oh, wow, I wish I'd known sooner. So it's a process like everything. And some people, I think it's pretty much a little bit, I don't want to call it a battle. That's a bad word, but people trust what their vet tells them. And if they don't have a holistic vet, if they have a conventional vet, what they're taught in vet school is it's very limited nutrition. Vets go to vet school to learn how to diagnose disease and then how to treat disease, how to do surgeries. So it's unless they have a keen interest for themselves to learn about nutrition, all they know about nutrition is what the dog food companies come and tell them. So, and the dog food companies are very smart because they know that when you get a puppy, what's the first thing that you're going to do? You're going to go to the vet. So if the vet says, feed him this food, and he sells that food at the vet, people think that they're doing the best for the puppy. So it's a little bit opening their eyes and saying, listen, you have to be your dog's best advocate. You have to be the voice. He cannot tell you my head hurts or my tummy aches, or, when you feed me this food, I feel lethargic, or, I don't feel well. So that's why when people start feeding better food and giving better treats and looking at what things they're putting in the environment that are harming the dogs, the changes are profound and people are so happy. So they never go back. So it's just getting them over that little hump.
Let's talk about things that are not so happy. Let's talk about dogs' disease. Let's talk about cancer. I know that is something that is really interesting and you handle in a very specific way. Can you give us your vision about why dogs get so sick or so often or in so big quantities with cancer? I'm not asking in the correct way, but can you give me your vision on that?
Okay, thanks you for asking that, because that has become my mission. That's what I want to do until I drop dead, is educate people. The rate of cancer in dogs is so alarming. The stats are now that every dog, 50% of dogs over 10 years will die of cancer. And then the dogs have the highest rate of cancer of any mammal in the planet. And right now it's 1 in 1.65 dogs will be diagnosed with cancer during their lifetime. But it's not just old dogs. These are young dogs. Just a couple of months ago, one of my students, he was 9, and they found a mass in his lung. 3 months later, he was gone. I just learned last week, there's a lady that has a golden retriever that competes where I compete, and 9 years old, boom, lymphoma. And lymphoma is like 3 months to 6 months. That's it. That's all they get. Whether they do chemo, so what they tell you is with treatment 6 months, without treatment 3 months. But the chemo for the dogs has the same, bad side effects as for people, and they don't understand why they're throwing up or why they're feeling so bad. So it's really, really tragic. And I find is, especially, I don't know in Mexico, but here in the United States, people have bonded with the dogs. Some people through COVID and the lockdowns, all they had was their dogs. So it's really almost like a child. And the suffering and for the dog and for the person is really, really
real.
It's real. It's hard to see. It's hard to see. And I see people grieving months after, the loss of their dog, and they say, I can't talk about it, 2 or 3 months out. So it's very, very painful. So I'm not a vet, I'm not a nutritionist. I've just had dogs for 50 years, and I've had a lot of dogs. And what is happening is that our environment has become so toxic. And
I was asking you that. Why do you think it is?
Yes. So it's all the environmental toxins, the bad food. We put those things for fleas and ticks directly on their coat. Those are things that are toxins. And there's toxins in the things that people use to clean the floors. If you put scented candles, if what they spray on the rugs to clean for even their dog beds, they make them with recyclable materials, and that's plastic that emit toxins. It's just this bombardment. And think about this: dogs are smaller, so we're exposed to the same amount of toxins, but we're 160 pounds, the dog is 40, 50, even a little Chihuahua might be like 5 pounds. So the same amount of toxins are being concentrated on a smaller animal. They walk barefoot. They don't wear shoes. We shower every day, right? And some of that stuff that lands on us, we can get rid of. They don't shower every day. They don't wear protective clothing. So what happens is that we have this massive amount of toxins, plus the not ideal food.
I was going to ask you that.
There's also bad things coming in the water.
Yeah, the food must play a big part as well, no?
Yeah. So all of that is what's really, it's what's getting them sick. And when I follow a group called The Truth About Pet Cancer, and they did a documentary where they interviewed like 7 or 8 holistic vets. They all of them agreed that just by feeding 10 to 20% real food, because this is something that it's a vet thing. It's like, don't give your dog people food. Don't give your dog people food. And I just laugh at that. I said, listen, food is food for every animal in the planet. Like if dog food was the only thing that, was so great, then the only animals that would be alive would be dogs and cats that eat, commercial food, because the whales and the horses and the cows and the, all the free range animals eat food. So it's really a misconception, and adding 10 to 20% of real food, good protein, eggs, sardines, some fruits and veggies. Why do they tell people to eat 7 to 9 servings of fruits and veggies, right? It's because it's full of color that we know have antioxidants, which are good for us. Anything that's good for you is also good for your dog. So this is a myth that we have to bust and have people, if they just, any holistic book on raw feeding that they read, it will open their eyes to like, wow, like I never knew this. And it makes so much sense. And once it makes sense, you try it and you see it's not so hard. And it makes you happy, because I think most people are like, they really realize like, oh, it's so boring to eat, just kibble day in, day out, 365 days a year. And they just have to know what are the good foods that they can add. So it's people food is bad, like if you're going to give them fast food, right? Or pasta with
or sugar
or bread. But if you're giving them quality food like what we should also eat, it's excellent for them.
Mm-hmm. So, nice. I want to know more about one thing. Then I don't know if do you believe then they get our energy, our negativity, and that influence them as well?
Yes. I just got this book. I haven't started reading it because I have so many books. I'm reading like 3 books at the same time. And then I said, you're punished until you finish all the books that you have. You can't open this one. It's called Your Dog is Your Mirror, the emotional capacity of our dogs and ourselves. And I'm dying to start reading it, because I see that so much, how people, when people are nervous, the dog is nervous. I'm working with a lady now, and she's gone through a lot.
My name is Rita. Sorry. This is start out of nowhere, full of energy, our call. I don't know why.
That's okay. I'm working with a lady that she's had a lot of changes in her life, and she when she gets upset, she can't eat. And I've been after her, like, you need to eat. She had a fall, she broke her shoulder, long, convoluted. And I'm like, you need to eat, because if you don't eat, you won't build the muscle back, and and I'm telling all that. And then the other day I said, she says, oh, I get an upset stomach and I can't eat, and I get, nausea. And so I mentioned to her, like, hey, your dog is a little skinny. And she says, oh, because if I feed him too much, he throws up. And I go like, oh my God, they're just exactly the same. And I think it's all her anxiety that she's been through. The dog is absorbing it. And that's why, because he's a Labrador, like, for heaven's sakes, they could eat like till the cows come home. So,
oh yeah, Labradors are like golden fish.
They
can eat. Like, they have a weird. Oh, I have a question for you, because I have a theory, but I want to know your. Yep. On Labradors, and I had different colors. I think the beige ones are the crazy ones, and then the brown ones are less crazy, but crazy enough. And the black ones are a little bit less crazy. But that is just my theory. I want you to tell me what you think.
So I'm not going to give you a good response because when the breeder that I got my Labradors from, we were still living in Venezuela, and we imported some labs from, I met her and I love her dogs. And so I imported some dogs from her lines, and she threatened me. She was like, don't you dare breed any of my dogs to a chocolate Labrador, because chocolate is like a double recessive.
Okay.
So it's not an easy combination. And, with the double recessives, you get a lot of the bad things. So she says, there's no chocolate in my lines. You will never, ever get a chocolate dog out of my line. So don't even try it. And so I've been like brainwashed since my first Labrador, like, no chocolates, like, nope. And it's funny. I have had chocolate Labradors in training that are adorable and smart, and they're great dogs.
No, smart and adorable they are, but they eat the floor of a house.
Well, all Labradors eat everything until they're like 2.5.
I need to say, I still have. It's not with me because it's not in Mexico now, and I'm far away from my normal house. But the best dog I had is Behave was a mix of Labrador with Golden. And she is a lady. She never destroy anything. In the opposite way, she have like her sister is not a sister. I have a Basset Hound, and it's like the perfection and the disaster. My Basset Hound is the weird, like 0.1 have no respect for anything. So she is capable to jump on top of you and lay down on top of you. What's not respectful at all. And when the other one is just asking you for cuddles and is very respectful, the other one is like a small little monster. And so you don't agree with me on my theory of like.
Well, that's what I told you. I can't give you a good answer because I've never had a child. But I have two little brother sister. They're going to be 13 in June, Amelia and Oliver. Oliver is an angel, and Amelia, 13, is still a monster. Like, she will counter serve. Don't you dare leave a crumb of food without watching it, because she'll steal it in a second. And Oliver, you can leave a steak and he'll look at it and go like, it's not mine, I can't touch that. And then I have Amelia's daughters, Soleil and Luna. They're going to be 5 in November. And Luna is all cuddly and she loves you. And Soleil is like the queen. It's like we are her servants and we are there to serve
like
her.
A cat. Like
a cat. She's like, she even rubs on you like a cat. And I'm like, you were a cat in your past life. And they were born the same day, same mom, same dad, bred the same way. So I really think they have their personality. Like you say, our emotions will definitely play a big part. Like if you're a calm person, your dog will be calm. If you're, agitated person, I think the dogs will be the same way. But they each have their own personality. But I would like to go back a little bit.
Oh yes, please.
Because one of the things that I didn't discover, it discovered me. I have a very good friend who's an equine holistic vet, and she introduced me to a new science. It's called activation. And activation, what it does is it turns on like good things inside your cells so that your cells start making their own enzymes. Mm-hmm. And our enzymes are much better able to protect us from everything than. It's not to say that we don't need good food. We still need good food. We still need to exercise. Same thing for the dogs. Dogs need to exercise. They can't be couch potatoes all day. So you have to go for walks. You have to throw the ball. So we still need the good food, but this is a new science. And I would love anybody that's interested. If you have a dog that is has some sort of condition, again, I'm not a vet, but I can send you all the information. But we have been able to save so many dogs. The last one we had was a Shar-Pei. The lady had made 2 appointments to euthanize him. He had kidney failure. He stopped eating for like a week before. He wasn't drinking. She was having to do infusions. And we got him started on the NRF2 activation. And after about 3 days, he woke up one night, woke her up, and he was drinking by himself. And the next day he started eating. And now I think it's been maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. He's going with trail rides with her. She's on the horse and he trail rides with her. So really, but it's amazing. It's really amazing. And I've seen so many miracles. So this is now my passion, because I really believe that, first of all, we have to start dogs early with prevention, because of what we talked about, the massive exposure of toxins. So the earlier you start, the better off your dog will be. But if you already have a dog that's middle-aged or has been diagnosed with something, whatever, even if you can keep on giving the medication, you just add this as something additional that can complement whatever you're doing, whether you're going the holistic route or the pharmaceutical route. But we have saved so many dogs' lives. We have another one that his arthritis was so bad, the vet said that they had to amputate the leg. Well, this was like 4 years ago. This dog is like running, and now they moved to Virginia. He runs in the snow, all 4 legs still attached. So amazing. It reduces inflammation. It's really, really interesting. And I'm looking, I know so many people listen to you, but we need more people to join our team and become distributors for these products and help educate. So we started our conversation.
So tell me, where can people, if you can send me the links through Facebook after, tell people where they can find you online.
So I'm on Facebook, Lilianne Merida. It's spelled Lilianne, and it's Merida, like you pronounce it correctly. I hear this day. So Merida. So they can look me up on Facebook. I can give them my email. Or should I send it to you, or do you want me to say it?
You can say it now, and then you send to me, and I'll put under the description.
Okay, so my training business is called Trained Dog Happy Dog, and that's also my website. My website has also a lot of information. And so my email is TDHD, so T for trained, D for dog, H for happy, D for dog, TDHD at traineddoghappydog.com. And you can reach me that way. I can send them. I have a wonderful article written by a vet that explains how NRF2 activation benefits dogs. But we're looking for people that want to join, groomers, dog walkers, people that are animal advocates that they can increase their bottom line with the business part, but then they're doing their joy, their passion, which is helping the animals. And it's just beautiful. And we have 2 Facebook groups for dogs, 1 Facebook group for horses, where we post all the stories. Everybody brings their stories, and people can ask questions. We have 1 for humans too. So just contact me and let me know what the interest is, and I'll be. I
found that it's super interesting. I would like to offer you as a gift as well a session with me, so we can roadmap and think about other ways to grow your business. And online as well, because I'm an activator, I'm an amplifier as well. So I help people to grow online, to get more followers, to get more clients, to sell more, to make more money. What is really always interesting. And I would love to have that experience with you. Is 1 hour where we can work together. And so you send me the links, I will send you the invitation, and we go from there. It's free. And it's a super, and I love that you work with dogs. If you have one last thing I want to ask you is, if you have a message for people listening to us, what message do you send to them? People have dogs or work
Yes, my message is, you have to be your dog's best advocate. You have to be your dog's voice. And I know that the veterinary world says, this is how we do things, and this is how we're doing it for a long time. But I can assure you there's a better way. There's a better way, with less suffering, with less expense, with more joy, with having these animals just thrive and be happy so they can be around us forever. That's what I would love. So I just urge people, look for information. Go online. What is natural rearing for dogs? What is raw feeding for dogs? What are and you'll hear, and get a book, because that's the other thing. Nowadays, everybody Googles something, but I really think that when you get a book, this is someone that has put so much time, invested time in researching. They've researched, other sources out there. And I think you get the big picture of something that's a lot more solid and has a lot more, let's say, science background behind it. So I just want to encourage everyone, our dogs should be living to be, little dogs should live to be 20, and big dogs should live to be 15, 16, 17. We are literally cutting our dog's lifespan in half. That's what we're doing to them. They're becoming the little canaries in the coal mine. They are absorbing all these toxins in the environment, the EMF from the Wi-Fi, all of that, and their poor little bodies can't help it. But we can do so much with little changes that are not going to cost you a lot of money. They're not going to be a lot of effort. And I know everybody wants the best for their dogs. So, get educated and be the voice for the voiceless. That's what I ask. And follow your heart, because I find that a lot of people will say, I kind of knew that I shouldn't do that, or I don't like to put the flea and tick thing, or I didn't want to vaccinate him again, or I didn't, and they feel it because they're so connected to their animals. So follow your heart, because your heart will always tell you the truth.
Beautiful. Oh, Lilianne Merida, was such a nice conversation. I am a dog lover, a pet lover, so I'm really curious to learn more about what you are doing. Please send me all your links. I'm going to say bye to our friends on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for commenting and liking and subscribing, and thank you so much. I'm going to say bye to Lilianne properly without cameras. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.